There were 3 of them, according to the friend. They arrived in the early hours of the morning.
3 people that he wasn't really close to. And they were probably planning on having a long night, and he wasn't having it. And his friend, his actual friend, said he was gonna get some food.
The friend left, and according to what he later told the family, Abdi Nasser went to bed. What follows is what Hamda has pieced together since.
So I believe they woke him up, told him he had no money, probably buying himself time until his other friend came back. So they said, if we don't eliminate him, then there's going to be a lot of people after us.
Several hours later, the friend returned. Abdi Nasser was on the bed, a bullet hole in his head. He called 911 and fled. That evening in Toronto, police arrived at Fadumo's house.
And then they say, your son is passed away. They tell me that night.
What did you think?
I don't know. I was so shocked.
Do you know what happened that night?
I don't know. The time he talked to me, he's afraid to maybe someone.
Did he tell you he was afraid?
He don't tell me, like, he say, Mom, I come back to you. I don't want to hear. He say, I know my son, he have a problem that time.
When we come back.
We know the person that shot, that pulled the trigger. Government name and everything.
The crime scene, the place where Abdi Nasser Diri died, marked the 5th murder of a young Somali in Alberta in just 7 months. Abdi Nasser's friend, Shukri.
Were you surprised?
I was. In a way. In a way I was surprised, and in a way I wasn't, because that's how all the kids end up. You hear every day somebody's dead. Somebody got shot.
And yet police seemed powerless to stop it. In large part, they said, because the community was unwilling to help.
People want to know, they want to solve these things, right? The police want it solved, the community wants it solved.
Yep.
Why can't the community share the information with the police now?
This is where the term snitch comes in.
What happened when you roll through my hood? Start from left to right, nigga. You gon' get it, nigga. That's what it is.
In this world, to be a snitch is to make yourself a target, and you don't have to run with gangsters to get the point.
It's like practically you're telling on somebody. That's what they're saying. That peer pressure. It doesn't matter how old you are, how old you. They're afraid for their own lives. For those
Legitimately
people.
afraid? Should they be afraid?
They are. That's the truth.
Iman and Hoda are afraid, and that's what keeps them quiet even in Jamaica. They've sworn never to reveal the identity of the Toronto drug dealer who sent them here.
So even though this man set you up and got you into this situation and has caused you all this trouble and grief, you're not prepared to tell the police who he is?
I'm afraid.
You're afraid to tell the police?
Yeah, I'm afraid.
Why?
Because knowing that one of our loved ones died from something that we don't even know what he got himself into, and for us to say something and then something happened to us, I don't want to lose nobody in my family.
And yet, despite all of that fear, Abdi Nasser's family has gone to the police with the information they received about his murder.
We personally called them and said, we know the person that shot, that pulled the trigger. Government name and everything.
Well, how does anybody know who pulled the trigger? Because there were only 3 people there that night. There were no witnesses.
Right. One of those 3 people talked.
So everybody in the street knows.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows who it was that was there that night, who it was that pulled the trigger.
Even the police know. They have fingerprints. Nothing has been done.
What reason do the police give for nothing being done?
We're looking for more evidence. What more evidence do you need?
Okay, guys, phone up, please.
The family says the key is to crack some of the young men Abdi Nasser was running with in the months before he died. We recently caught up with a couple of them in Fort McMurray as they pleaded guilty to unrelated counts of theft and assault. They wouldn't talk to us, nor would the Fort McMurray RCMP. Not about Abdi Nasser, not about any of the murders they have so far failed to solve.
There is a hostility that exists between the police and those communities.
Abdi Fattah Warsami is a community activist in Abdi Nasser's old neighborhood.
There is a perception within the police force that if a kid or a person was dealing with drugs, then pretty much, nobody cares.
They deserve whatever happens.
Exactly. Most of them were executed. They were killed in an execution style. Clearly, the community, the parents of this young man, they deserve better answer than that. Police should do a better job than that.
To some, Abdi Nasser Diri may be just one more dead would-be gangster, but he was also a son and a brother, and to this day his family refuses to believe he was anything but the good kid they knew.
I mean, look at Hamda. Let me play devil's advocate here, and I say this with the greatest respect, but he gets picked up with a bunch of guys and cocaine in January.
Right.
In the days before he dies, he shows up in Edmonton, comes in and out in a day. Now, was he there to pick up drugs and take them back? Who knows? Rumors go around that he's got lots of money. These guys want to rob him, in your understanding of events, because rumor has it that he's got lots of money. If he'd just done a drug pickup, he probably did have lots of money. There's a logic there, right? That somebody who is completely dispassionate about this might put all of those things together, and in their mind they would say, yeah, that's what he was doing. Of course that's what he was doing.
Maybe if you didn't know him. If you didn't know him, then maybe. You would think like that, obviously. But if you personally know the person and you've been through thick and thin with this person, no.
There's a little part in your mind that says maybe this good boy,
He's a good boy.
but maybe he got involved with something bad.
Yeah, he's a good boy. I cannot, friends. The problem is if he don't do nothing wrong, friends, they do something wrong and he's with them. That's the problem. Yeah.
I don't know if it's an ignorance of what their children are really doing or just a willful blindness of what their children are doing. But invariably, the story you get from the family is, he was such a good boy.
Well, this is where I say stop. Put stop to your stupidity. You need to wake up and smell the coffee.
As tough as he is on the police, Warsami is just as hard on his own community. As an organizer who works with kids, he says parents have to start stepping up and getting involved with their children. 20 years after they arrived in Canada, he says Somalis have to accept they're not in Somalia anymore.
A lot of parents, fathers in particular, would love to pressure their sons to carry the Somali culture, and not realizing these kids were born in this country. These kids are Canadians. We need to adopt the Canadian way of life.
Which means what?
which means being proactive, which means, you know, taking the matters in their own hands, you know, taking responsibility, you know, making a difference in the lives of your child.